For the record, this agenda was posted to the Secretary of State's website and our website on Friday, 8/23, at 11:03 a.m. Roll call. Hidalgo County, City of Bronzeville,
Present.
Cameron County,
Present.
City of McAllen,
He's outside on the phone.
okay. City of Edinburgh, City of Mission, City of Harlingen, City of FAR, Stark County, City of San Benito, Cameron County RMA, Hidalgo County RMA,
Present.
Valley Metro, Tech.FAR District. Quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item 3, public comments. Do we have anyone sign up for public comment? All right. On to item 4, action and discussion items. First item is item A, approval of minutes for July 31st, 2024. I'll entertain a motion on this item if anyone, if there's no comments on this item. All right, we have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. On to item 4B, discussion and action, federal functional classification of Nolana Loop by Luis Diaz.
Good afternoon. We have a request for federal functional classification of Nolana Loop, and this request is coming from Hidalgo County Precinct 1. This project is actually in 2 phases, but the overall limits of the project are from Victoria Road to FM 88. And what's being requested is a major collector. So we have a map included within the packet, and that shows the scope of the project. So you're looking at 2 phases up on the screen. You have both being about a mile long. You have the termini being segment 4A, which ends at FM 88, and you have the beginning of the project starting on Victoria Road. So it's that pink dashed line up on the map. That's the request being made today. We do have some of the initial request items needed to produce a packet for moving forward to submittal first to the Tech.FAR district. After that, approval and hopeful review and any comments that we receive. We'll be coordinating that with the FAR district. After that, it'll go over to TPMP, Tex.Austin, and ultimately over to Federal Highway Administration for hopeful approval in the overall. So this one is an action item needing approval for moving forward with the process to request federal functional classification of Nolana Loop from Victoria Road to FM 88.
All right, we have a motion.
Thank you.
And a second. Any further discussion on this item? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Thank you.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item is 4C, discussion and action for Clean Cities Coalition. The presenter is Javier Dominguez.
Good afternoon, Transportation Policy Board. My name is Javier Dominguez with the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council. I'm here today to ask a request and action for approval for a letter of commitment from the RGVMPO to join the South Texas Clean Cities and Community Coalition as a stakeholder. Just to provide you a little brief background on this is the map of all the existing coalitions across the country. Before, they had more than 75 coalitions, and the Department of Energy, which is housing this initiative, had some struggles with keeping and maintaining and ensuring that all the coalitions were up to date and actually performing what they were supposed to be doing, so to speak. Just didn't have the bandwidth to accept a lot of new coalitions. And so as you see on the map, you do see there's a lot of them where they have just one per state moving forward. The states highlighted in gray are the locations where there are currently apprentice coalitions. And then here in Texas, we have 4, all in the major metropolitan areas of the Texas Triangle. The DOE has been reaching out to organizations and agencies from South Texas to see who could host one for all of South Texas. And so right here, this is a map of the 24 councils of governments or regional councils of governments across the state of Texas. Essentially, what they want is one coalition for everything south of San Antonio, which would include the South Texas Development Council, or in the Laredo area, the Coastal Bend Council of Government in the Corpus Christi area, as well as us down here, the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council. So the issue that they're having is finding one entity that is willing to host an organization of that size. And then they've also asked me to reach out to the Golden Crescent Council of Government or Regional Planning Commission, which is number 17 right here, which covers the metropolitan area for the city of Victoria, Texas. And so essentially we'd be entering a partnership with the National Renewable Lab, which is so working with the Department of Energy. It's a 5-year contract. The going contract right now is essentially about $110,000 a year for 5 years. And in year 4, we will have to do an annual, they do come and do an audit to make sure that we were doing what we were promising to do for those first 5 years. And then after every 5-year increments, we would have to, reassess and continue moving forward if we want to continue as a coalition. And so initially, that's out of order. Initially, when I was with the RGVMPO, we were going to host a coalition, but now that I'm with the Council of Governments, since I moved over here to the admin office, I'm seeing if we could host it here. The LRGVDC did approve the motion to host it. We do have experience working outside the boundaries. So, for example, Valley Metro provides transit agency services in Starr County. Starr County belongs to the Council of Governments for the city of Laredo in that area. And so now we went to TAC and we asked for feedback on what type of level of involvement the RGVMPO would have as a stakeholder. There's a lot of different things that you can bring to the table. In the past, I've provided a draft letter of commitment that was shared by the Department of Energy on their website, but they listed a lot of things like membership fees and dues and structures, and that's all about how the coalition wants to structure itself. The initial 9 stakeholders, you apply as an apprentice, then it's about a 1 to 2 year process to get full designation. In the first 2 years, you have to really determine and highlight what you're going to be going after. And so, for example, some coalitions try to do transitioning fleets to low or no emission vehicles or electric vehicles. A lot of other coalitions focus on tracking how many vehicles they're switched to those types of alternative fuel vehicles. NCT COG, their coalition, they did a partnership with the DMV. So every month by month, they show which county in Texas, how many have electric vehicles registered to that county. And so all 254 counties, last I checked, I think Hidalgo County is number 9 out of all 254, and Cameron County is number 14 out of all the counties in the state of Texas, but that changes month per month. And so there's different initiatives. In the Alamo area, they provide a lot of educational webinars and research and technical grant assistance. And so I think that's what we're going to be trying to gear ourselves towards, because they have a landfill where they capture methane gas and they turn it into natural renewable gas, and some of their transit fleets can refuel there. And so is that something we want to do one day? But, there's a lot of work to get to that point. So as of right now, our coalition is really focused on education, webinars, and technical grant assistance. And the feedback that we received from the MPO and the TAC before I came to you today is that the MPO can use the coalition as a platform to provide updates on the NEVI plan. The MPO will be working on the second phase of that plan. They'll be getting funding. And so they do have to partner with private entities, and the coalition is already going to be made up of both public and private entities. So it's going to be attending the coalition meetings, whether that be bi-monthly or quarterly, depending on what the coalition decides on, as well as attending any future webinars, conferences that we may plan. And if they have the bandwidth to do so, they will go ahead and assist in the development of those webinars or conferences, depending on other responsibilities that they may have, or what their staff is currently working on at that time. So these are the interested stakeholders that we presented to TAC. Since then, we've gotten 4 letters of commitment. And on the right, we have stakeholders we would like to reach out to. We've just now started reaching out to those stakeholders. So if we haven't reached out yet, we will reach out soon. Like I said, this is going to be a mixture of both private and public. And so we did provide a draft letter of commitment in the packet for your review, and I'm here open to any questions if you have any at this time.
Any questions or comments for Luis? This is an action item, so I'll entertain an action on this side. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is item 5, presentations and reports. Item A, National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program Phase 2 update by Clarissa Gonzalez.
Hi, good afternoon. This is an information item on the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, or NEVI, formula program. So the IIJA established the NEVI formula program and the discretionary grant for states to plan and construct electric vehicle charging infrastructure. The formula program appropriates $1 billion annually nationwide throughout 2026, and the discretionary grant program, namely the CFI, or charging and fueling infrastructure, is for alternative fuels including electricity, hydrogen, propane, and natural gas. So in order to access the guaranteed formula funding, a statewide Texas electric vehicle infrastructure plan was developed by TxDOT and approved by FHWA. The plan is linked here to the right, and it details phases 1 and 2 timelines, scoring methodologies, equity considerations, existing and future conditions, and important federal standards and requirements. The Texas EV plan began the successful deployment of phase 1 in 2023, and many stations in phase 1 statewide are past the planning phase, and they're in construction, with a few sites expected to be operational as early as September. For the rollout for phase 2, MPOs were briefed on the role that this organization has in executing the plan by the project team in Austin. So this is to share that information that was presented to us and to get feedback on a strategy to implement the task at hand by December. So a quick background on phase 1. Phase 1 prioritized the alternative fuels corridors, or AFC, by placing fast charging ports every 50 miles along the interstate highways. The phase 1 map shows 3 locations within our MAB, and the following 3 slides show the 2023-26 tip entries for those sites. So these phase 1 charging stations projects were identified by TxDOT and programmed with an 80-20 federal state funding split, and the private sector provided the 20% match as like a pass-through program. The to and from limits have the addresses of the sites, and then the project description says the number and type of ports, and then the authorized funding section shows the funding split and the work program. And this is the San Benito location. And so for phase 2, this is where the MPO is involved in recommending study areas and power levels. So once these study areas are submitted by the MPO to TxDOT, they will lead the competitive grant process similar to phase 1, and then the projects will be programmed in the tip. The purpose of phase 2 is to infill rural and metropolitan planning areas by ensuring at least one charging station is located in the county seats, as seen in this map. There's one additional location in the Starr County. And so for the phase 2 formula funding, the preliminary Cat 10 NEVI work program amounts for the RGVMPO is $6,325,233, and then an additional 1.588 for the 5-year operations and maintenance. The charging stations cost per port are estimated to be $150,000 for DC fast chargers and $7,500 for level 2 chargers. The DCFC chargers charge at a rate of around 100 to 450 miles per hour. Depending on the capacity of the battery, a full charge would take less than 45 minutes. And then the level 2 chargers, they charge at a rate of 15 to 30 miles per hour, and they use a standard 240 dry outlet, and a full charge takes less than 8 hours. And then the level 1 chargers charge at a rate of 3 to 5 miles per hour, and they use a standard 110 outlet, and a full charge takes over 24 hours. For this program, there is a minimum of 4 ports and a maximum of 8 ports per station. And the timeline following the authorization of phase 2 by the Texas Transportation Commission from beginning to end is projected to take 6 to 12 months because those steps were streamlined in phase 1. The guidance for selecting the study areas within the RGVMPO MAB are as follows. They recommended to consider a 1 mile buffer of IH routes to delete sections with large interchanges or little retail activity or green spaces, to limit it to 10 in our region, and to ensure each county has about the same number of study areas. Specific considerations are also including distance to electrical substations and disadvantaged areas. We're planning on using a STEEP tool provided by FHWA to consider the environmental justice aspect of planning. And so given the intricacies of this task and the need for cross-jurisdictional collaboration to ensure regional connectivity, staff is preparing to facilitate a working group in October to develop a method to provide a list of 6 to 10 proposed study areas by December. And here are a host of useful resources that would be referenced in the working group. That is all. Thank you.
So just a quick question. When do you anticipate TxDOT approving phase 2?
To commence?
Yes.
I don't have that date offhand, but I could look it up.
Any other questions or comments?
Thanks.
Oh, go ahead, Pete.
So is it my understanding that a work group is going to be put together
Yes.
and you've reached out to those entities already?
No.
Okay.
Following this, I could send out an email to all of TAC and TPB members to get a response to get a count. And I don't think we have a limit of number of people. It's, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 5B, presentation of RGVMPO Category 7 Utilization Report by Luis.
Good afternoon again. This is an update that has Eva's been giving with regarding our carryover in Cat 7. This is I guess this is the first presentation of the following that'll be given next month during TAC and policy in regard to our project readiness. So the UTP was actually approved on the 22nd of this month. There was a table included in your packet that shows the current carryover in regard to the allocations coming all the way from starting 2024 to 2034. The table looks kind of small on the screen, but it is also on your tablets. Wanted to point your attention towards the allocations, which is the first row right after the title heading. There you will see all the allocations going year by year based on the overall trend that we have been receiving on the regular. You do see which is ranging from 32 million through to 30. Sorry, from 32 million to 33, 34, but the majority is 32,752,401. That's going to be the norm as far as the allocations that are additional with every UTP upcoming. With that said, once we start looking over the 2024 UTP allocations plus the projected carryover, we start looking at the numbers and the ranges. And once we start looking into 28 is when we start getting into the negative, which is your 2024 UTP allocations, and you add on your projected carryover to generate the number in orange, which is the second row on the table. And the third row is the RGV TIP MTP programming. So once you do the math, you end up at the very bottom, which is the remaining allocations. And you're looking at 2024 and 2025, we're in the positive. Once we get to 2026, that's where we're over-programmed, and you start seeing the red numbers down at the bottom. So going all the way with the allocations that have been, and keep in mind that this is all talking about Cat 7. This does not take in district discretionary, which I can give a quick update of where we're at with that after the regular presentation here for the the agenda item. Um, we go all the way from 26 all the way to 2032, and we're in the red, meaning that there is not really a new allocation of funds until then. And keeping in mind that all of this is all hypothetical based on the current programming of projects, meaning that projects need to let as they're programmed. If they're not, of course, there's more allocations and more carryover and a negative balance that we may potentially see. So these are all high level projections, based on the programming, and they're all subject to change. But this is to give an idea of the upcoming and what we're leading up to, further updates coming in the next month. There's also the second page of the table, and that starts showing you the projects that are actually within each projected year. So you start seeing the listing and how much each project is programmed with Cat 7. So we're going to follow up next month with a similar list, but a step further, showing the AFA, those projects that have AFAs, and also their progress in regard to project readiness. So that is something upcoming. So this is pretty much opening the door for that next conversation that's going to be upcoming next month. So this is an informational item, pretty much laying down the foundation and the groundwork towards the next step in trying to allocate and make those type of recommendations from the MPO, meaning that it's showing that we don't have necessarily funds for new projects, but that doesn't mean that new projects cannot come in, though. For those projects that are currently programmed, for example, that out of project readiness show that maybe there's a certain amount of Cat 7 programmed, but these projects, for example, are not advancing, and maybe there's another project that's maybe another higher priority for a local government. Those type of swaps can happen, so that we do end up getting these projects shovel ready a lot sooner, and ultimately spend our allocations, which is the problem that we have with the carryover in Cat 7 and the potential for Cat 7 to be converted into safety with TxDOT, which of course still helps the region, but it removes that allocation that we do have available to the MPO and Cat 7 programming of regular highway capacity projects and what have you. So that's just something that I'm putting out there as trying to put that as a foundation and mindset, for moving forward and getting projects out the door, hopefully, is what our ultimate goal is through all of this. I do want to share some out of the current 25 UTP, like I mentioned, just approved on the 22nd. We did get an increase in Cat 2 of a total of 122.7 million. And that's for various projects. I'll be following up with the follow-up email showing those exact projects that did get those allocations as a summary table. We also got an increase of Cat 4 of 95.8. And I'll go back a step. So the Cat 2 was metropolitan and urban area corridor projects. That's what that project is, or that funding category funds. The Cat 4 is for statewide connectivity corridor projects. And then we also got an increase of Cat 12 of 73.1 million, which is for strategic priority. So overall, there was an increase of 291.6 out of this current UTP that was not part of the previous. Of course, I mentioned we're going to send a follow-up email that'll be showing these projects broken down and the actual allocations. Keeping in mind that there were a total of 44 projects within the RGVMPO within our planning boundary for all counties for Cameron, Hidalgo, and Star counties. There were a total of 44 projects. A total of 21 projects did get an increase in funds. So it's about half, so we ended up with a good amount coming back to the MPO in regard to the new 25 UTP. So just wanted to put that out there. Please be looking out for an email. So there will be an email following up, with more information as to which projects got these allocations additional. And that's what I have for this item. It's informational. If there are any questions, I'll take them at this time. Thank you. Yes, sir. Excess money in the way of programming of Cat 7, current Cat 7 projects by fiscal year. So that's the issue that we've been having in the coming years. We have which is what's called fiscal constraint, meaning that there's only a certain allocation, certain amount of money that can be spent per year. So therefore, projects that are programmed that are using Cat 7 have not necessarily been letting, and therefore that money keeps getting moved over a year, moved over and moved back and moved back. So therefore, there's a new TAC rule that mentions that we have to be within 200% of the allocated Cat 7 amount, and that has not been, necessarily the case, and therefore some of our Cat 7 is in jeopardy of, going to Cat 12 safety. We have met with the financial division, TxDOT, and the direction has been if the MPO has a plan, which we have a plan that we've been coordinating with the Fin division, TxDOT, TPMP. This will not happen. And if it does happen, the MPO will be notified with ample time prior to these funds actually going over to the other category from Cat 7 over to safety. So this has not happened, and we're in a good standing with the financial division right now, with the plan that we have in place. Of course, ultimately we have to follow through with that plan that we're putting into place. Otherwise, there will be those repercussions, coming up out of the TAC rule.
I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry, my mind is just real slow. Was that a
No
yes or
problem.
no?
That's a yes. Yeah,
So-
long answer for a yes. Yes, sir.
So we do have excess funding.
We have it in the way that we have to pull the Cat 7 that's currently assigned. So yes, we do. The
Okay.
Cat 7 assigned to a project, and we can reallocate it to another project, for example,
so-
swaps.
So how do we do that? Where does that get started? We've got a
Yes, sir.
project on Taylor Road
Okay.
that is, short of over $4 million.
Yes, sir.
How do we get money over there?
That would have to be a swapping within, because I know that that's a co-project with the county. So therefore, it would have to be an existing project in a, called fiscal year within the TIP. And we can, negotiate and try to get those swaps done for a project that's potentially maybe more shovel ready than another. And those are the type of changes that can be as far as an amendment. With that said, we are going to be entering into public involvement for the amendment process starting September 9th all the way through October 9th. So that's going to be our next opportunity for making those type of amendments.
I mean,
Yes,
'cause
sir.
this is a project that's ready to go, and
Okay.
in fact, we're having to push the bid letting because
Yes,
of
sir.
that shortfall. So
Okay. Yeah, we can start looking into those and seeing what's potentially could be moved around from one project to another.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
thank you.
So if I made a couple of
Yes, sir.
comments, big
Definitely.
picture.
Yes, sir.
Big picture is we need to ensure that the information for each project is updated because
Right.
we're going based on the latest information that
That's
we
true.
have. Finance division, TxDOT FAR district, we're looking at all these numbers. And if whoever's managing the slide, if you all can go back to the carryover, wanted to point something out. Roy asked a very important question is there excess money? It may appear as in there's excess money, and Roy stepped out, but it may appear as if there's excess money. But really what we need to be focusing is, are these projects obligated? Because we have a plan, but the plan cannot be executed if it's not obligated, and you can't get credit for utilizing the funding until you obligate. That is the challenge that we're facing. And you look at that carryover in 2023, 114 or 115 million más o menos, that's about 3 years of carryover, which is great. That means we have money available here in 24, 25, and then into 2026, we start going into the red. Over a 10-year period, we're projecting to utilize these funds. We're showing that we're doing good at the beginning, but then we show in the red. What does that mean? It's the amazing race, folks. Who's going to come in first, right? And so we have to get projects shovel ready. Those projects that are shovel ready, as an example, Roy mentioned the Taylor Road project. Basically, it's good to go. It's missing $4 million that's available on another project. Can a swap be done? That's up to this policy board to make that decision. My whole
right.
point in stating that is whoever has projects ready first will have the opportunity to take advantage while we're still not in the red, we're in the black, if you will. So that is a challenge to all of us. Continue to develop projects, get them shovel ready, come before this policy board and say, look, I'm ready to go. And this policy board has the obligation, in my mind, to then entertain those requests and make a decision. Because if it's not obligated, we can't take credit for it. We definitely want to be below the 200%. And that's the goal. And that's great. Moving projects over to safety. Safety is and will always be TxDOT's #1 priority. We have an opportunity here, folks, to take advantage and compress these dollars from the outer years and move them forward. Project prioritization is key. We have a scorecard, we have a ranking system and what have you, that based on the last couple of years, the ranking is there, but the project priorities, based on letting list, is not aligned. In some cases, they're completely backwards. And what I mean by that is some projects that are higher priority don't have the funding, and some projects that are low priority have the funding. This policy board has an obligation to deliver shovel-ready projects. So I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions on any of the comments I just made.
Thank you, Pete.
I just wanted to ask a
Yes, sir.
question in relation to, big projects. I mean, I understand what Peter's
Yes.
saying, that is the direction that this board needs to go, but
Yes, sir.
I'm just kind of wondering out loud, like, for example,
Mhm.
big projects that, let's take the loop, right? In
Right.
Hidalgo County, that there's big projects,
Right.
for example, on the west side, right? That
Yes, sir.
connects from Benitas all the way to north of Edinburgh.
Right.
I mean, I know right now it's the RMA's handling that, but what I'm asking, I'm only bringing that as an example.
Yes, sir.
Those projects require, it's a long-term project, and so I guess, so my question is something like category 7 eligible for that? And if so, how does that work with his mindset of, we got to get these projects shovel ready? Well, you're talking
Right.
about a lot of money,
Yes,
right?
sir.
For making that happen. So I'm just kind of
Yeah.
curious as we plan ahead, plan forward. I mean, there's some areas that are
Understood.
growing that maybe 10 years ago wasn't anticipated to be growing as much as it is, right? So now it needs
Yes.
attention. So I'm just kind of curious as we look at this, we kind of keep that in mind as well.
Right. Yes, sir, for sure. Thank you.
We need to say this. Projects are shovel ready. We have to get it the money.
Yes, sir.
By getting that project the money, we'll get more money. Am I
Right.
right?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Then why is the hesitation? And I think, MPO staff has got to also put this before us, and if
Yes,
the board
sir.
refuses to make that decision, then it's on the board.
Definitely.
Talking about it since day one, since before, and, we've had, state rep come to us
Yes.
and get on our case and remind us that how can we expect them to advocate on our behalf in Austin for more money, not spending what we have. Long and the short of it is there are projects that are shovel ready. Obviously, some much larger than others, some much smaller. But if we're not getting any of them moving because it's a huge project and got a lot of money to wait for it, why can't we start it with what we have? That kind of puts the onus back on TxDOT because then they're committed, like with and part of what you asked was the same question we've been asking, but it has to be commitment, leadership, political leadership, all the individual cities and the counties. Here is if I give you that money, you take that money from projects, they're going to lose it. And I understand that fear, but the reality is we're standing still, running in place. We're not trying to get projects moving. Some are shovel ready, so then why aren't they? Aren't you getting? I feel this. Any of ours, we are shovel ready. Some larger and big. Have to get over the fear factor that if Cameron gets more money or if Hidalgo gets more money, that's, hey, we're gonna get it back. And hopefully tenfold. Am I right or am I whistling Dixie?
You're absolutely right. And one thing that needs to be pointed out is we have the money that's available now. We're having a carryover. We have 3 years at this point of carryover, right? If we stay above the 200% and we cannot demonstrate that we're obligating this monies, then a portion of that is going to be moved to safety. So yes, we get $32 million per year. And I don't know what that is equal to off the top of my head, but there's millions of dollars that are over 200% that may be taken out of category 7, put to category 12 safety, which means that there's less money available to us here. And that just blows my mind, knowing the various needs that we have in TxDOT here in the great RGV. It blows my mind that we may be losing money because we're not moving fast enough. And Judge, I could not have said it any better. I admire you for bringing that up to the table again, because we've been talking about this since 2019. Shovel-ready projects will go to the top of the list. That was a commitment made when we merged the 3 MPOs, and yet that has not happened. And yes, we did have Chairman Canales here challenging us, and there has been movement in the positive direction. Great. We need to now start running. This your crawling is out the door. We got to start running.
Yeah,
No,
Mr. Chairman.
Should be penalized because they're moving their projects ready, but aren't able to get it completely done because they're not 100% funded. That's not right.
But Frank,
Pete, so what's the methodology? Roy writes a letter to us, and how do we choose which project? Can we do it today?
Yes, sir. Like I mentioned, we do start public involvement starting September 9th. We could start receiving those as of now, those amendment forms, which are on our website. And that's where those are identified, the need of the local governments and possibly, the type of swaps that we can start looking into is the next step, which MPO staff will start looking into and start making those coordinations within local governments, and ultimately bring it here to the table to the policy board to make the ultimate decision on whether or not those funds are actually swapped out for one for another, based on shovel readiness and being ready to move forward. And all of this, will come a little bit more forward, next month when we produce that listing, that'll show the statuses of those projects moving forward. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I add something?
Yeah,
First of
go
all,
ahead.
thank you, Judge. I mean, I've been hearing you say the same thing over and over and over. And, we've been listening to this discussion. Yeah, no, I do. I do, man. I'm from Cameron County. We need a process where this is automatic. Okay? I mean, we can't be bringing it up at an MPO meeting like this, with a question. We need a process where the MPO, TxDOT, a combination of both, brings this to the attention of the board. And like you said, let's just make a decision. If it's a no, it's a no. But I mean, one at a time, competing against each other at every meeting just doesn't work. And this is a perfect example. If we're forecasting that we've got money that needs to be allocated, and we have a $15 million project or $17 million project that needs $4 million, that should be automatic. I mean, these are busy people that need that information in front of them to vote. And so thank you, Judge.
Plus, we know if we keep waiting, they're not going to get cheaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Responsibility to keep track of how much money is available. I think staff should kind of keep track of what's going on, what y'all have available and what projects can be moved up, because we don't know that. So it's important for staff to do maybe, I'm just gonna say it a little more on y'all's end, because that keeps us informed. And as soon as we find this out, that there's some availability to move a project up, we'll be on it.
Yes, ma'am.
But we need a little bit
Yes.
of information.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been building up to just that. Yes, so definitely a good point. That's what will be coming, in the next presentation coming to TAC and Policy next month. That'll be that exactly, showing, well, these are the projects, these are the ones that have been progressing, these are the ones that have CAT 7 allocated, that have AFAs that are not progressing, and therefore we need to start having those type of conversations.
Here, it needs to be,
Right.
maybe even quarterly would be a good idea.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll make sure to make that a regular reoccurring update moving forth. Yes, ma'am. Appreciate it.
I just have one question real quick for Roy. Roy, where's this project on the list? I'm just kind of curious just to know, like, as used as an example, like this project here, is it on the tip or is
Yes.
it is on the tip?
Yeah.
So it's on the 4-year
Yes,
tip,
sir.
so it's just already ready to go. So
Yes,
it's not on the, got it. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
So just, it is important to recognize that the MPO to a certain extent has already done what you requested, Mayor. But I think what we need to see an improvement on is, in my opinion, is, okay, here are the projects already, not based on what we're projecting to be the actual letting. What is the real letting? Because, the actual letting, because we can all say, yeah, that project will be ready 2027, but where are we with the right of way? Where are we with the utilities, the PSNE and everything else to give us a realistic letting date so that then this policy board can make an educated decision? Because if we're giving trash in, trash out, as they say, right? If we're giving trash and say, yeah, this project's gonna be ready in 2025,
Right.
and there's a bunch of hogwash because we haven't even started right of way acquisition, well, then that project needs to be pushed out.
Yes.
And a project that is shown in 2029 can then possibly moved in based on priority.
Right.
That's where our responsibility is with the policy board. And one final note, I mentioned earlier, just to be clear, the funding that would be taken out and moved to category 12 is category 2 funding, which is MPO dollars for on-system roadways, right? But these are on-system roadways that are within your communities.
Right.
Roadways like FM 2220, Ware Road in McAllen, Edinburgh area, FM 1925 and others. So this would be category 2, not category 7 monies that would be
Right.
removed. But removing category 2 funding into safety are projects in your community. Because in my mind, on system, off system, it doesn't matter. It's the transportation system for the region that is important.
Right.
So just wanted to make that clarification.
So Pete, do you have a list of projects that are hogwash? To use your word? Because if there is, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. If there is, shouldn't we know that so that we make decisions? I mean, that's the automatic thing that I'm talking about.
So I think it is up to the staff to provide us information. We verify, we at TechStart are ready, willing, and able to help verify whether those dates are realistic or not. They present to the TAC and then the TAC presents to us, right? So to answer your question, there are a couple of projects probably out there. I'm not going to go into details because then my job would be in jeopardy, right? I cannot be biased. I cannot show favoritism in any way, shape, or form. I'm here to present the technical facts. And I think the staff has that responsibility, Luis and the rest of the team. We at TechStart are ready, willing, and able to help provide engineering expertise and as far as providing recommendations and acknowledging whether yay or nay.
Yes, sir. That's the next step. That's what I've been, that's the next one that's coming up next month. So that'll be the listing that's coming of the projects like that are indeed, with their project readiness. So we've been having the project readiness. I believe we've had 3 of them. We're going to have another one in September. And that's where we'll ultimately be able to produce that report over the data Mr. Alvarez mentioned, based on these are the actual, where these projects are, and getting project ready, shovel ready ultimately. And that's upcoming. Yes, sir, for next month. Yes, sir. Yes, we're in coordination throughout the process with TechStart District. So it's definitely something that they'll be engaged in as we start producing. And before it makes it over to the table, ultimately to TAC, there will be coordination between ourselves and the district, definitely.
So how do we ensure that going forward that TechStop validates those dates? And why wasn't it happening before? I don't understand. You would think it would be happening. It would be happening.
So I have to be careful with my response. I think that there are project readiness forms that are available for all of us to see. In fact, I think there were some in the packet that we could potentially review. This information has been made available in the past. However, there was a reluctancy, as was pointed out by some members of the policy board, of as far as giving up a project because there was no guarantees that the money would be coming back. And so some pet projects will remain at the top of the list, but yet they were not moving. So it's the will at the end of the day of the policy board to make that decision. And we have to own it, folks. We have to acknowledge that there's an issue here. Staff provides the information. This policy board then votes yay or nay to move whatever project it may be. But this policy board, in my opinion, we can do a better job. And I include myself in there at the risk of, having some folks not like me very much. But at the end of the day, I have a job to do also. When I'm being asked by administration, what's going on? How come you're not delivering projects? They're outside of my control. We're there to help, but technically they're local government projects. We need to come together, and this policy board needs to take a stand, make that commitment. One of the commitments that we talked about was the money should go strictly for construction. Because if you look at that list, there's construction, there's engineering, there's right of way, and all these funding are being tied up. Well, if there's right of way money, go and spend the right of way. Go buy the right of way. Get the project shovel ready. That's step one, getting the right of way and utilities adjusted, right? So my point being is, if there's projects that are committed up there, we need to ensure that we're utilizing the money that's been committed through an AFA process for the local government.
Yes, and how Mr. Alvarez just mentioned, that's going to be the data that's going to be shared in our next TAC and ultimately coming to Transportation Policy Board next month. So staff is working on producing that after the next project readiness meeting, which will be in the FAR district, actually. That's where we're going to be holding TAC as well. So there will be that project readiness meeting where there'll be more data collected. So therefore, to bring forth a better data set, collected data set, over time, showing that that project readiness and, the shovel readiness ultimately is what we're wanting to show here, and which projects, indeed have been, are the ones that are possibly, falling behind a little bit. So that's what we're going to be showing too. Yes, sir. Well, it'll be a presentation showing, indeed those projects, and that's where those conversations can begin, since we would be in public involvement all the way through, so that will be that opportunity to, start mentioning, well, for example, this project is, has been in the books for some time. It's been, it's not shovel ready, in other words. So therefore, another local government may have another project in mind, that indeed is, and we can start talking about, those swaps and making those type of changes. And I will add one more thing too. If a project is within the TIP, those type of changes don't have to be in a regular amendment cycle. Those could be done administratively if they are within the TIP. So that's something else to keep in mind. Yes. Thank you.
You're going to look at all the dates that he gives us to make sure that they're realistic?
Yes, that is the intent. We'll do an analysis in cooperation with the MPO. And once again, talking to the RPIC's responsible person in charge for the local government, and ensuring that that information is up to date.
I think this is Roy's last meeting, so you have to send him a copy of that to his house. So he can look at it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about my job. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
On to item 5C, update on RGVMPO Executive Director selection process. Benny.
I'll be brief. We're getting closer. So as you may recall, we initiated a contract with Genius Roads back in after the May meeting. And so they cast the net far and wide, searching for the next director for the MPO. And so they got in contact with us in mid-August, and we had a meeting with the hiring committee on the 22nd. They produced 4 potential applicants for consideration. After further review and discussions with the hiring committee, 2 out of those 4 were selected for the interview process. So the interview is going to be taking place September 5th at 2 p.m. Here in this location. As you know, we have a deadline to meet, is in October, to make sure we have upper management in place for the upcoming, process, FHWA audit and so forth. So that is where we're at this point in time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Manny. On to the next item, RGVMPO Executive Director's Report and Updates. Luis.
Microphone was off. Sorry about that. Gonna go ahead and go over the budget. The budget right now, we're at a total of the overall adjusted. We have $4,249,000 and $42. So right now, the total spent out of that full allocation for, of course, October. October is the new budget year. So at this point, it being next month, we've spent $1,366,822. So we're well within budget at the time. So right now, we should have spent a total of $1,770,434. So the difference, it would be 403,611. So we're doing good, and it being that we'll be starting the new budget starting in October. So we're in good shape moving forward for the remainder, which is the month of September. Also, I do have a quick update to give. There was a presentation given to the Technical Advisory Committee based on, and this was House Bill 3697, and this involves ultimately it amends the Texas Local Government Code on how changes are made to county regulations of subdivisions and approval of subdivision plats and ultimately thoroughfares. So there was a discussion made, a presentation was given, and the process that's currently followed through the county for thoroughfare is that we receive all the amendments, from all the local governments, and this is in regard to the county level, is what this House bill is over. So therefore, since we're the MPO, we collect all the amendments for the county, and we approve a resolution here within the policy board, and we take that resolution over to the county governments for ultimate approval at the county level as well. That fulfills that particular aspect of the thoroughfare plan requirements. Now, on the other hand, when we start talking about the plats and all of those submittals and all of those, there is a form now that's going to be a requirement for making those type of changes for subdivision plats and all of those things. So those forms are actually included within the slides of the packet, and there are links on there, for more information. So, if there is any more information that's needed on any of that, I could put you in communication with the correct individuals to get you those responses. And, of course, to provide the most accurate guidance moving forward for the county governments. And the third item I do have on here is I had touched base a little bit on this. This has to do with the public involvement for the PM 2.5, which is the particulate matter, which is Clarissa had given an update last month in regard to this. And this is where the measure had gone from 12 to now 9. So meaning that, the region is like at about an 11. So therefore, that's something that's being closely monitored, and therefore could put, our region in jeopardy of being in non-attainment, which is something, that we most of us don't really want to talk about, but it's the reality of it that it's possible. So therefore, with that said, there is that public involvement that's going on it's a informal public involvement actually for till the end of the month. So with that said, the MPO will be submitting over a formal public involvement in the next session or the next process for public involvement. But just wanted to put that out there that is an opportunity that's being given for providing those type of public involvements from local governments till the end of the month.
Are you going to address the issue that came up during that discussion about the location, those monitoring systems that they use?
Good point. Yes, sir. So that's actually part of a plan that the LRGVDC is actually leading an initiative. And today they actually made a decision on a consultant for moving forward with that plan. So that was some grant money that was received by the LRGVDC to address that in particular for the region, as far as to where, you know, these potential locations could be for placing the air quality monitors. And they chose a firm called All Four Incorporated, based on their overall procurement scoring process. So they're going to be moving forward with carrying over that local air quality planning for the region. So that's all upcoming information that's going to be shared as it becomes available. Yes, sir. Right. Oh, no. I did see that. Yes, sir. It was bad. Yes. It looked unreal when I saw the video. I was like, is this real or somebody pranking us? But no, it was pretty bad. Yes.
Can you send around the public comment that you're going to be sending on behalf of the MPO?
Definitely.
So we can
Yes,
use
sir.
as a model.
That is something that we do plan on bringing forth, you know, to the Technical Advisory Committee, you know, for information and, you know, guidance before we do actually submit over and bring it over to the policy board prior to the actual submittal of that
Great.
public involvement submittal. Yes, sir.
The comment period was over at the end of the month.
It's over at the end of the month informally.
That's-
So there will be
this month,
another
right?
opportunity formally to submit public comments. Yes, sir. And another item that I do have, Mr. Cruz touch base on it briefly as far as our federal certification that's coming up. That is an item that we have been diligently working on, you know, all MPO staff on board. We did get our desk audit back from Federal Highway Administration. There's a total of 18 criteria that the MPO needs to be in compliance with. And I would say that we're in good shape in that the desk audit returned out of the 18, there were 4 that there were questions on. Everything else was in compliance. So we're in good shape moving forward. And the ones that were found not to be, or that, you know, there were more questions, MPO staff has already a plan of action for covering those. So it's not necessarily something that we're going to be deficient in moving forward towards the ultimate certification, which I sent out the notice shared with all of TAC and policy. Upcoming December 5th and 6th is when the ultimate Federal Highway Administration certification will be having for the TMA, meaning for this MPO. So that's all I have as far as updates. If there are any questions, I could take them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you.
On to the next item, which is item, I believe it's 5E, TxDOT's project status report. With the TxDOT FAR district staff. Thank you.
The presentation. There we go. Sorry for that. Jose Luis Lozano, project engineer for the FARI office of TxDOT. I'll be presenting 3 projects this afternoon. The first project is the US 83 Relief Route Phase 1. The project limits are from FM 886 to FM 2221. The scope of work is for a new expressway facility. Contractors Anderson Columbia. Percent completion is at 99%. And the estimated completion date for this project is October 2024. From these 2 images, or the image on the left, we can see that the eastbound and westbound and even the frontage roads are now open to the traveling public. Currently, the contractor's also working on some last work items, such as seeding the entire project limits. And the image on the right, we can see that the contractor's also addressing some deficiency list items, in which our office is anticipating for them to be able to complete before the end of the month. Moving on into the FM 1015 projects, focusing on the North project, these project limits are from Interstate Highway 2 all the way to mile 9. The scope of work for this project is for the rehabilitation of the entire roadway. The contractor is Stream Construction. The percent completion, it's at 16%, and the estimated completion date for this project is July of 2025. Now, for the south portion of the project, it's practically the same scope of work. We do have another contractor, which is Texas Cordy Construction. The percent completion for this project is at 26%, and the estimated completion date is August of 2025. These two images pertain to the FM 1015 on the north side. The contractor is currently working from Interstate Highway 2, going northbound to mile 8. As we can see, the contractor recently completed the west hand side of the roadway, and we can see the traveling public driving northbound and southbound. The contractor is currently working on the opposite side of the roadway where they initially started some roadway excavation, removing curb and gutter, valley gutter, and some concrete and asphalt driveways as well. Moving on into the last images here for the FM 1015 South. Both images are looking southbound. The contractor is working on the west-hand side of the roadway. On the image on the left, we can see that the contractor is placing the first layer of asphalt. On the other image, the contractor is addressing some concrete driveways. And all of these work activities are happening while the traveling public is on the east-hand side of the roadway. Again, driving northbound and southbound. With that being said, I'll hand it over to somebody to area office. Sorry.
Thank you, Jose. Good afternoon, everyone. Gabriel Villarreal here on behalf of the San Bernardino area office. I'll be going over two projects in Cameron County. The first one is the I-69 ramp reversal project. This is scope of work is essentially swapping out the on and off ramps. This is the limits are between Loop 499 and Wilson Road. Contractor is Foremost Paving Incorporated. This project is currently 68% complete and is estimated to be completed by October of this year. This image you see here is the northbound lanes. This is the northbound exit ramp. Since the last update, contractor has laid down the final mat for the on ramp for the exit ramp, and as of right now, the contractor is installing metal beam guard fence at this location. The next image is on the southbound frontage. Here, the contractor is installing curb and gutter. Since this photo, the contractor has completed this curb and gutter and is now working on the riprap that you can see on the left corner image on the downslope. The contractors installing concrete riprap at that location. So that's for that project. The other project is the SH4 project in Brownsville. The limits are from I-69 to SH48. The contractor is Posilico, and this project is currently 22% complete, and the estimated completion date is March of 2026. As you can see here, the contractor has laid the bond breaker, essentially the hot mix asphalt that's going to go below the continuous reinforced concrete pavement. This is on phase 1, step 1 of the project between the frontage road and Taft Street. And this next image shows the steel reinforcement that the contractor has installed on top of that bond breaker while they'll be laying the continuous reinforced concrete pavement. They've already started doing that on this side of the road, on the right side, south side of SH4. From, I believe, I-69 just to Morton Street, I believe. Yes, the contractor has continued to place concrete here and is slowly moving further east. So those are the two updates I have for projects in Cameron County. Going into design projects, I'll pass it over to Jose Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Jose Rodriguez. I'm transportation engineer and project manager out of the FAR district headquarters. The following two projects I presented last September of 2023. I don't recall many of you to, well, I don't expect many of you to recall any of the, I guess, details that I shared back then. And quite frankly, I don't want to bore you with any of the technical details of the nature of design, but let me just quickly present, very, very briefly, the limits of the projects, the scope of the projects, and moving on to recent activity. All right, the limits of the project for FM 508 in Cameron County are from Interstate Highway 69 east on the west end of the project to FM 106 on the east end of the project in Rio Hondo. The scope of the project is a roadway rehabilitation with safety and mobility improvements at the FM 106 intersection. Essentially, if some of you are familiar with that intersection, we're essentially converting that very awkward and odd Y intersection to a T intersection. So moving on to recent activity, we do have environmental clearance, which happened back in November of 2023. Our right-of-way is in progress. We have 3 parcels to be acquired at the FM 106 intersection to be able to make that safety and mobility improvement. Utility relocation coordination is in progress. And our 95% PS&E milestone was reached in March of this year of 2024. We're currently making some minor adjustments to complete that 100% PS&E. Current letting is tentatively set or tentatively scheduled for July of 2026. Moving on to FM 907 in Hidalgo County. The limits are from Rancho Blanco Road to FM 3072, essentially from the city of Alamo to approximately 1.5 miles south of the IBWC floodway. The scope of the project is a roadway rehabilitation with safety improvements at the IBWC levees. Essentially, we're improving the stopping sight distance there at the levee. Recent activity, our environmental is in progress with anticipated clearance within the next month or two, sometime in September or October of this year. Our right-of-way is in progress. We have 4 properties that we're proposing to acquire to make that safety improvement at the IBWC levees. Utility relocation coordination is in progress. We have pending AEP design to relocate and a gas line to also either be relocated or request an exception to policy for utility clearance requirements. 100% PS&E milestone was reached in April of this year in 2024, and letting is tentatively scheduled for January of 2027. That concludes my presentation. Questions?
Real quickly, we have met with the consultant, had a kickoff meeting. I guess it was about a week and a half ago. The goal of that kickoff meeting was to basically set the foundation for what's coming. We will continue to work with CCRMA, you, Frank, and your staff in the development for the environmental and the schematics. Our goal, target date for completion of the environmental schematic is the summer of 2026. So we're excited about this. We will be reaching out to Pete Sepulveda and the rest of your staff to schedule a follow-up meeting here in September. But we're excited that we've taken the next step in securing a consultant to support us.
I do have a question on SH4. So the question is, how do you guys work with the municipality, with City of Brownsville, and also local businesses along that corridor? It's very congested. We just had Lopez Supermarket close down. It's been there forever. And so obviously the project's only 26% complete. So there's still a lot of work to do. And I'm worried for that corridor.
We do. It's a good question. We do have access to all businesses, and we do coordinate with the city. We do provide monthly updates as far as, what the progress, not just here at the MPO, but also to the city as well. And we are trying to find ways, coordinating with a contractor to find ways to accelerate the project. And right now we're currently in that process, and we can, once we get to, finalizing what we're doing, we can definitely provide you an update.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, board.
All right, next item is item 6, other business, old or new? Anyone here?
When we were talking about Taylor Road, so Taylor Road is a phase 1, phase 2. And so phase 1 is complete and we're actually having a ribbon cutting September 12th at 10 o'clock. So
Great.
be anticipating that invite. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I do have a couple items I'd like to mention. I had the chance to attend one of the recent TechStop meetings in Austin. I encourage all the MPO policy members to, if you're in Austin, to make time to go and do public comment there and advocate for our region. I think it's very powerful to be there in person and speak in front of that board. I was able to do that, and I thanked our district staff as well in front of the board, make sure that they're aware of the great work we're doing here. The other item I have is, as this is Roy's last meeting here, I want to thank him for all his service to the MPO and for the city of McAllen. And I wish you the best, and I hope to run into you on the beach.
Oh, you will.
One day, you know, and
Thank you, Mayor.
but I don't know if you want to say a few words.
Well, you know, it's been a long road for me. I've enjoyed most of the minutes, right? You know, so my careers took me from the Valley as a very young kid to Kingsville, to Oklahoma City, to Bethany, to Guyman, to Beaumont, to Harlingen, to Weslaco, back to Harlingen, and to McAllen. So it's been a great journey, and you know, this is home. Even when I traveled out of the Valley, I knew where home was, and it's because of people like you. And so I appreciate you allowing me to say goodbye or farewell. I'll stay in the Valley, and I'm real happy about the timing of my exit. It's long overdue. It's enough. It's somebody else's turn. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, I just to echo Mayor's comments. Roy, I want to thank you for your leadership. You know, it's not often you get an individual who can provide both the technical and political leadership the way you have. And working for many cities here in the Valley and elsewhere, you have always had an unbiased opinion. Yes, you can advocate for McAllen in your latest role. I get that. But you were also instrumental, if you will, in providing that technical support for our technical committee representing McAllen here in the policy board. And you always had the Valley's best interest in mind. I know there were several political situations that occurred over the years that you worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that people came together, came to their senses, reached consensus, and ultimately do the right thing for our region. And for that, I don't know how else to thank you. I want to wish you the very best in your future endeavors, my friend. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate that. Thank you all.
I guess on behalf of Commissioner Fuentes, I want to say go Irish, beat the Aggies as well. Right? Is that right? But with that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Take care.
Opposed? I have a motion carries. Thank you.